The purpose of this session is to give you a few tips on how to use Web of Science to find the most relevant literature for your research projects. That will be the main goal of this session. So let me go through the slides first. So the context is obviously that when we want to find relevant research, that's a critical step when we start any project or when we do any research. So we want to be knowledgeable about what has been done already. We want to be up to date with the current literature and the most impactful literature. And this is quite critical and the most time-consuming challenges for academics when because you have a limited amount of time to read. You cannot read everything. You cannot find everything that might be relevant, and you have a limited amount of time to cover quickly what is available to you. Research ecosystem is ever-changing. Every day, thousands of papers being published. So in any field or any topic, you get lots of papers. You cannot read all of them. And research is evolving, so you get new trends. So it's very critical to stay up to date. So that's what I'm saying here. Each field has a very rich and divergent history, and you get new ways, new doors being opened every day when it comes to research. Proposition here today, so few steps every researcher or academician should know, should take to leverage their citation network, which is very important and very key when you want to have an idea on how the literature is connected. So you have the ability to perform a comprehensive search queries in the Web of Science, and then instead of only limiting your search by keywords, you could use the citations, the references to explore the literature. So this way you can get insights about how you can find an article, quickly assess the impact of this paper. You all hear about number of citations. The more you get cited, the more impact, the more influence you get. So obviously people would cite something that is more relevant. The more citation you get, that's a proxy measure of influence. And you have the ability to create alerts to keep track of new papers in your field. That's quite interesting. You basically ask Web of Science to keep searching for you. You do your search, you save it, you create alerts. And each time a new paper is matching your search, then you get a notification by email and say, okay, there is a new paper that is talking about the topic that you are interested in. So then you just turn Web of Science into a research assistant. And that's very key to keep track of new papers. As I said at the beginning, every day new papers being published. We don't read every day. We have so many stuff that we do, teaching, doing research, writing, publishing. So we don't only read. That's the point. So we need to have something in place that helps you to stay alert about what you're doing. We'll go through 5 steps, and I'll go through them in the demo later on. Choose the right database for your search. That's quite basic, but I think that's key. Web of Science is not only one database. The search results will depend on the database you've chosen to do your search. So if you're interested in, let's say, patents, you would look into patent data. If you're interested in science or in specific field, let's say medical, you would go into maybe Medline, or you're interested in the Korean, the literature in Korean or in Chinese or in Arabic, right? So you do have different databases that you can explore. All right. If you're interested in social sciences, then you would keep only social sciences. If you're interested in conference proceedings or in books, so that's one key step. What do I want to find? There's also the data citation index, which is quite interesting. You want to find papers that have made available their data sets, and that data sets that have been cited by other researchers, and you want to explore those data sets. You're not interested in finding papers only. So that's the first step. The first question that everyone should ask themselves is, what am I looking for? The keyword search, I think that's the most used search query in any search engine. You type keywords, you click search, you hit search, and you expect results, right? I'll show you that you can do other search queries. You can conduct other search queries, such as searching by institution, searching by country, searching by author. It's not only typing keywords and I want to find papers that mention those keywords. Nevertheless, the keyword search is very important because that's what you mainly do. You conduct research on a specific topic. You search on topic A, B, C, and you want to search all the papers that mention A, B, C. You can conduct more advanced search queries, such as you say, I want to search all the papers that talk about ABC, but not this particular topic, or not in this field, or not in this country, or not in this particular year. Or I want to combine this topic. Most of the time when I visit universities or research institutions and I ask for examples, some people would mainly give me like almost topics that could be assimilated as fields, very large, like wide topics. And then that's what I'm saying here. When you want to master the keyword search, you want to be precise, but not too much. You don't want to be too strict, but not too large in your search. Filter your results and analyze for trends. I'll speak about that in a moment. So that's what I said. You're going to put some keywords, you get some results, and then you want to filter because you always have mobs, right? And you want to analyze the trends as well. Explore the citation network. I mentioned that already in the introduction of this session. One basic way of finding literature or papers is to put keywords, but then you can explore the network of the papers by looking at who is citing who, or which paper is cited by other papers. And finally, as I said, you want to save your search and set up alerts. Each time a new paper is being published and made available in the Web of Science, you get an alert. All right. So let me go through quickly each point, although I've done that already in the introduction. That's what I said here. You get access to so much information. We're not in the 50s or in the 60s or even before internet. You go to the National Library or the library in your university or the library in your city, and you have a limited amount of resources. Here you have access to so much databases, data repositories, search engine. So it's very difficult. It can be very difficult for everyone to navigate all these sources. And they all differ in reliability. If you look at the literature about these different databases, the data is organized in different ways. It might not all be relevant. One quick example I can give you, although I might be a bit difficult, but let's say if anyone can write something, but then you lack this quality. Sometimes you would see someone posting something in pure nonsense because it hasn't been reviewed by peers and there is no standard of quality and so on. Organization of data is also very important. If you want to have a good search, if the database is well structured and you have consistent filters, then you would know that in each and every paper you can filter on by using those different filters. So organization data is also very important. Web of Science, that's the topic of today. We're going to speak about Web of Science. One key difference with other platforms is that we publish in neutral. So Clarivate Analytics is not a publisher. What you find in the Web of Science has been published in a journal, all right, by a publisher. The publisher submitted the journal for indexation in the Web of Science, and then we apply a journal selection process, which is very strict, the most strict journal selection process. We look at 28 points of evaluation, quality and impact. So this is carefully curated by our team of expert editors who would decide if this journal is indexed or not. So that's basically the key difference of Web of Science compared to other platforms. So core collection, I'm going to speak a lot about core collection, but you do have access to other databases in the Web of Science as well. So here, this database includes only journals as well as books and conference proceedings that have met our rigorous quality and impact criteria. For books and conference proceedings, we look at the quality. For journals, it's quality and impact. Billions of cited references. So in the presentation, you'd have a link to the coverage, which is publicly available. When you access the Web of Science, you have access to a list of databases. And each database, you'd have a description of the coverage, the history, and the content. All right, so that's what I mentioned at the beginning: Chinese citation database, data citation index, CABI, BIOSYS, Medline, and so on. For the keyword search, when I say master the keyword search, the keywords shouldn't be too inclusive, all right? That's what I say when people, they give me like, or researchers, they would put some keywords, which is basically the whole field. But you don't want to be too limiting as well, because you might miss some important and critical literature or relevant literature. The key phrase in this slide is basically that you're going to try many times until you find a good combination of words or a good search query as you become more familiar with the research field. So you're working on a certain project, you're working on a certain topic. The more you read or the more you do the search and you find papers, you say, okay, this is relevant, all right? And those authors, they also mention those keywords that can be interesting, or this is not relevant and I don't want to use this, right? So that's something you need to keep doing until you get a good search query. There is a guide that is available. Again, in the presentation, you would have access to this link where we have a guide on search tips. And there is also a quick reference guide that can help you to search the literature in the Web of Science. All right, so that's an example, a screenshot from Web of Science. I was doing research on collaboration and network and author. So if I just type collaboration of author or author collaboration or network, I would get lots of papers, obviously. But here what I wanted to look at is collaboration and at the same time network or collaboration and authors, right? So you distribute collaboration with network and collaboration and author. I use the star quite often to get all the words that start with this root. For example, collaboration, collaborating, collaborator, all right? Network, networks, networking, author with author, authors, authorship. So you would have all these words that would be included if I search with these keywords, right? I'm doing a basic search here, and in topic, I'm using topic. When we say topic, it's basically finding all the papers that mention these words, either in the title, abstract, or keywords of the paper. So either in the title, or the abstract, or the keywords in the papers. Something I mentioned also at the beginning, many people use the topic, but you can search directly for the title of the paper, the name of the author, publication name, you can filter on the date, an editor, the country, the address, and so on. Okay. Once you do a search, you're going to get lots of papers. You see here, right? 73,000 papers. There is no way I can read all these papers. If I read 5 papers per week, let's say 1 paper per day, that's, let's say, 250 per year. I would need several lives to read all of this. The point here is that there's a lot of noise in all of this, all right? So here you see different fields, environment, mechanical, this is operational research. So these are the names of the journals. So I can see already there are lots of papers that might not be relevant because this is not my field. My field is more science studies, right? Or maybe social studies, or maybe mathematics. If I want to modelize the networks of the authors, right? So all depends on my perspective. What is that I'm interested in when I study the collaboration, the networks of authors, right? So how do you do that? You would use the filters. On the left-hand side, you do have access to lots of filters. You can start sorting by time cited. By default, the papers are sorted by date, the most recent paper in the top, okay? But here you would have, so here you would have the filters on the left-hand side. If I want to filter on Web of Science categories, if I want to perform some analysis on institutions, if I want to look at my country, let's say I'm based in Kuwait or in one of the Gulf countries, and I'm interested in who has done research on this topic, who is also based in one of the countries that I'm based in, or that I want to collaborate with. I want to look at who the main authors are, the most productive authors by number of papers. Who is funding this research? one key question that researchers are asking themselves is, where can I get some money? Where can I raise some funding? So one quick answer would be, let's have a look at who has funded already or similar projects. So based on the funding acknowledgement, I would know that those funding agencies, they already participated in the funding of projects related to my work. Journals, when people ask us which journals are indexed in the Web of Science core collection, which journals have an impact factor, I could filter on this. If I'm interested in open access as well, or books, which books have published papers talking about my topic or my project. And conferences. Is there any conference that has published papers that are indexed in the Web of Science? I can attend to present my work, all right? Or I can just attend to learn and meet new people and see what people are doing. Explore the citation network. Any paper would have a citation network. So this is from a paper, has been cited 91 times and had or has 141 references. Based on one paper, if I have access to one paper, something that we tend to forget is to have a quick look at what the authors have cited. So when you find a paper that is relevant, that's already a good step, right? That's already something good. So you have a look at the authors. They have made references to other papers. These papers, they might also be relevant to what you're doing, okay? And this paper has been cited 91 times, which means that this paper got some impact or some influence. It has been reused as basis of other projects. So with one paper here, if you do the math, I will have 1 plus 91 plus 141, that's 233, right? 1 plus 91 plus 141. With one paper only, I get 233 papers that are all connected because they're citing, one paper is citing 141 papers and 91 papers are citing this particular paper. Okay, so that's what we say here. So you can pay attention to the number of times a paper is cited, so you can have a quick understanding of the impact of or the influence of that particular project or paper. Okay. Obviously, a paper can cite only what has been published before the paper, and citations are received from papers that have been published after the paper has been published. All right, so you can see how research has been progressing over time. So let's say you have a paper, they have cited papers early 2020, 2019, and so on, right? If I publish a paper today in August 2020, maybe I will receive some citations from papers being published after August 2020. Okay, and we can see how the topic has evolved over time. Okay, so that's what I'm saying here. Evolution of research backward in time and also forward, and you can view the related references. That's the last part, which basically would tell you this paper has cited 141 other papers, right? If I read the paper, I would see the list of references, 141. The question I can ask Web of Science, I can ask Web of Science, find me what we call related records. Related records would be other papers, obviously, that have cited some of these 141 references. And the logic here is that's what we call co-citation. If two papers are citing the same paper, at least one paper, then those papers are related because they use the same literature. Okay, so that's what we say. Okay, they're likely discussing similar topics. Save the search, very important. Once you get interesting results, I recommend you save your search so that each time a new paper is matching your search, you get alerted by email. All right. So you can always return to your search query anytime and stay up to date about the new papers, including new search results. Okay, time for the demo. We still have 35 minutes, and I will keep some time towards the end for questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to write them down in the Q&A section or in the chat that is available. So Web of Science should be accessed from your library. You should have access from your library portal or from your campus or from VPN. We basically give access via different ways, but the one way is the IP. So from your institution, we have the list of internet addresses. So if you connect from your library portal, library website, or from the campus, or via VPN, you will be able to access Web of Science. If you struggle, I recommend you contact your librarian. They should be able to help. All right. So as I said, you land. This is the landing page of the Web of Science. I recommend you create an account. I already have one. The purpose of creating an account is, so you do register, you give your email address, you confirm the email address, you would have an automatic sign-in. I can sign in with my username and password automatically. That's actually basically what I'm always using, but for the sake of demo, I wanted to show you this option. I can save my search and access history. I can create alerts, and I can add references to my EndNote library online, and I can select a preferred starting database. My preferred, and with the same username and password, I would be able to use those resources if I have a subscription. So EndNote Online, Publons, Copernio, Master Journalist, these are all free. All right. These resources require a subscription. So depending on if your institution has a subscription or not, you would be able to use the same username and password. So let me sign in. All right. So I have my username and password already saved. Can keep me sign in. Right. So now I'm connected as Jamal. So anything that I do in Web of Science, I can save it and create alerts and so on. You remember at the beginning, first step is select the database. So you do have access to several databases. As I said, your access might be different because this list of databases depends on the subscription of your institution, the content and the history. So you could have access to Web of Science core collection. I have access to 1900. You might have access to a limited period of time. So if I do a search, I have access to everything. If you do the same search, you might have different results because you do have different access. So Arabic Citation Index, as I mentioned, from 2015, that's developed in partnership with the Egyptian Knowledge Bank, and so on. BioSys, CABI, I mentioned Data Citation Index, Derwent for the patents, Inspec, Korean Journal Database, FSTA for the food science resources, Medline, Russian Science Citation Index, Silo, Zoological Record. If I stick to Web of Science core collection, as I mentioned at the beginning, Web of Science core collection is a collection of several citation indices. So you do have science, social science, art, humanities. These are journals. All right. Then conference proceedings, book citation index in science, social science, and humanities. And then you have another citation index for journal. That we call imaging source citation index. The difference with these three for this one, you remember at the beginning I mentioned 28 points of evaluation for the selection process. For these, the journals indexed in the imaging source citation index, they match our selection process when it comes to quality, but they don't have impact yet or enough impact to be in one of these three depending on the coverage. All right. So the journal index in Science Citation Index Expanded respects our selection process, 28 points of evaluation, 24 of quality, 4 of impact. Same for social sciences and arts humanities. For the rest here, we're talking about 24 points of quality. All right. So from the beginning, I could say I'm not interested in arts humanities. I'm not interested in conference proceedings in social sciences and science and books. I'm interested only in journals, right? And then here, I do a basic search. What type of search do you want to do? Do you want to search on topic? Do you want to search on title? On the address? If I type in Kuwait, Dubai, if I type in Paris or anything, I would find all the papers with at least one author based in the address that I mentioned. I can search by institution. As I mentioned, this is quite interesting. Organization enhanced. All right. So here is an example, Cornell University, where I can search on IBM, or I want to have a look at what Facebook is doing in terms of research, or Amazon, or Microsoft, or like big corporates. I can have a look at that and what did they publish. I can do an author search here, author search beta, or author search in here, cited reference search or advanced search. When it comes to topic, so this is where you put the combination of keywords. So I could say something relevant, I think, for everyone these days. Any paper that is talking about coronavirus or COVID-19 or COVID-19, okay? Or I could do a search on coronavirus. So here, all the papers that contain these keywords, either in the title, abstract, or in the keywords, okay? Keywords of the authors, or keywords of that are automatically generated that we call keywords plus. I'll come back to that in a moment. So as you see, 42,000 papers, quite hot topic. You see 2020, 28,000 papers published this year. We're still in August compared to 2019 and so on. I can go in history and say coronavirus. There is already one paper, 1968. That was talking about coronavirus. So that's not something totally new. But then when you look at the trend, it's going up. So we had other outbreaks of other coronaviruses. So in 2003, you see there is like a big boom here. But then you see 2020, 28,000 papers talking about coronavirus. I'm not interested in all these papers. Anyone who's working in this topic, you have different perspectives. So obviously virology is the main one, almost 5,000. Okay, so almost like 12% of the total output that is in virology, then medicine, infectious diseases, immunology, and so on. This is the top 5. If I'm working in a specific field, one advice that I recommend is that you might have different perspectives. So you will be surprised, like if you look at mathematics, people that are trying in biology, that are trying to modelize maybe the outbreak, or in biology maybe the interactions between the molecules. You might have something in social sciences, because obviously these lockdowns and everything, they obviously impacted our lives. Social issues, social work, that are all related to coronavirus. You have public environmental, you have, I wouldn't be surprised, like education. How do we do education when we have lockdowns, right? Educational research. Okay, so as I mentioned, these are all different perspectives. Coronavirus can be studied from different perspectives. So you have psychology, you have nursing. So I'm just trying to find other fields that we maybe wouldn't think of when we talk about coronavirus. Pharmacology is obviously one of the main ones. Researchers trying to find a cure or a vaccine. As I said, any topic has different perspectives. So question is, I work on a topic, what is that I'm working on exactly? Since some people are doing research on geography, orthopedics, computer sciences, psychology. So here there is no bad answer. It all depends on what you do. The point here is that these 49,000 papers, or let's say 50,000 papers, they not all relevant. That's my point. That's what I'm saying here. You need to try to filter to keep what's most relevant. 732, if I have 4 or 5 years, I can read all of them. Okay, still, I don't want all of these. You'll find I filtered on some fields, but I still have other fields simply because they have been published in journals that are multi-category. Okay, something that is published in social work might be in management. So how do we keep working from home? All right. What's the impact in terms of ethics or political sciences? intervening, what's the intervention of the state, for example. So you do have like different, although it is still social, we filtered on this, all right, but you have other fields that still remain because these papers have been published in journals that talk about other fields. I can still limit my search on articles. I'm interested in articles only. I can do a quick analysis on the institutions, the researchers, those researchers, where are they based? That's one question I can ask myself. Okay. Funding, the question of the funding. These people, they got funding from where exactly? Authors, the most productive authors. So Lee, SA, 4 papers. Arabia, JJM, Barsky, Carson, Alam, HB. So these people, in terms of papers talking about coronavirus in the fields that I'm filtering on, you see. So this is my search. Initial search, then filter on Web of Science categories, then filtered on article. I can have a look at source titles, the name of the journals. So if you're experienced enough, you would know that these journals are key journals, index journals in your field. I can have a look at countries. All right, so we see top 5 countries. Okay, so we see someone from Saudi Arabia, 5, 1 from Bahrain, 1 from Iran. Looking at countries, 3 from UAE. All right, so countries from the region. All right, 1 from Iraq. 2 from Jordan, 2 from Morocco. I can have a look at this. I can go back to my initial search, and that's where it's quite interesting. I can go back to coronavirus, COVID-19, this search. I can save this one, or I can save this one because I've done my filtering, and I want to save, and I say COVID-19 social / math / education. Each time a new paper, and it's actually article. Okay, each time a new article talking about COVID-19 in social sciences, math, or education is published, I get a notification, so I can create an alert. Let me go back to this search, and let's have a look at many people are actually now based in Kuwait. Let's have a look at the papers talking about coronavirus published by people based in Kuwait. So let's have a look. So US, this is a top 10. Let's go. So 717 from Saudi Arabia. Let me do it differently. Let me go back to Web of Science, search. Yeah. So now let me go back to the list of countries. Okay. Let's have a look at for the whole Kuwait. So 36 papers talking about coronavirus or COVID-19 or COVID-19 have at least one author from Kuwait. I can have a look at that. Let me filter on this. If this is my topic, I would start with what is being done from my country. So we see it's mainly public environmental, occupational health, surgery, virology, and so on. So obviously, this doesn't limit. You have collaboration, like as you see here, China, KU, Kuwait University comes first, American University in the Middle East, Ministry of Health. So I can have a look at the authors. So these people are most probably based in Kuwait, I believe. But you also have the list of the collaborators. So all of these authors are not necessarily based in Kuwait, but at least some of them are. Let me filter on Kuwait University just to show you. So Kuwait University here, if I look at this paper, at least one of them is based in Kuwait and affiliated to Kuwait University. Actually, all of them, you see, all of them are, and interesting, some people from faculty architectures, Department of Education, Psychology, Business Administration, Pharmacology. So this is an interesting collaboration from people from the same institution but different fields. All right. So this is, and without looking at that, if you read the title, Multidisciplinary Academic Perspectives During the COVID-19 Pandemic. Quite interesting study. So here, yeah, that's another example. So you have one author affiliated to an institution in Kuwait, but then it's a collaboration with someone from the US, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Algeria, Jordan, and US again. So number five would be the author, yeah, Amthal, who is affiliated to Kuwait University. If I click on the name, I would find all the papers of this author. So that's another way of exploring the literature. You find something interesting, you click on the author, and now I have for file 3 publications. So obviously this person is working on COVID-19, but this person is also working on other topics. Okay, and you get a quick numbers of citations that this person received. Okay, let me do something else. Search results for Kuwait. Let's stick to Kuwait, or actually, let's go back to the whole search results here. Okay, something that I wanted to show you as well is, you remember, by default, the papers are sorted by date, so the most recent to the oldest paper. Some papers that are going to be published in 2021, so we know already that the journal received the paper, they have been accepted, and so on. Okay, and then I can do a filter on highly cited in fields. This is quite interesting. Let me explain quickly. So if I do a sort on time cited, in the whole history, those 42,000 papers, this one published in February 2020, so that's been like 6 months, okay, was cited 4,000 times. This paper published in Lancet, Clinical Features of Patients Infected with 2019 Novel Coronavirus in Wuhan, China. So talking about the clinical features of patients, obviously something very critical. You want to know about the clinical features of people that are infected. So obviously these papers are all very influential, all very impactful. So any topic, if you sort on time cited, you would have an indication of papers that were key in the field or in the topic. I can filter on highly cited in field. What does that mean? Highly cited in field is something that we do every 2 months. We take papers published in the past 10 years and we compare them with the same type of document, meaning article with articles, conference proceedings with conference proceedings, reviews and reviews from the same field published the same year. So this paper, if I compare this paper, this is an article published in 2020 and it's a paper published in clinical medicine. If I take all the papers published in clinical medicine in 2020, this paper received enough citation as of March, April to be in the top 1%. So you compare papers from the same field, same year, same document type. And this is a quite rich filter because from 48 of 50,000 papers, we are down to 286. So those papers were influential, very influential in a very short period of time, all right, compared to other papers in the same field. Let's have a look at this paper. If I look at this paper, here the citation network, all right, so here you'll find 4,000. As I mentioned in my presentation, I can explore the citation network. So these people, they have cited 37 papers. Let's start with the 37, okay? They made references to all the papers, all right? Papers published, as you can see, in 2018, and so on. So there was no COVID-19 yet. So they make reference to other coronavirus, like Middle East coronavirus we had here in the region at some point of time, 2013 and 2014. Okay, so they made references to quite few studies, 37. Okay, so I can explore and so on from paper to paper, but I can also have a look at those 4,000. They got some impact, right? They got cited 4,092 times in the Web of Science core collection. And again, here you will see a breakdown. in biosys, in Chinese, in Russian, different databases. Okay, and then that's how you would explore the citation network, by looking at the citation and references. And there is one more thing that I mentioned in the beginning, the related recalls. This paper is making references, or has made references, to 37 papers. I can ask Web of Science, is there any other paper that is citing some of these 37? And the answer is always yes, and it's always a lot. 11,000 papers have cited at least one of these 37 papers. So here you can see this is the most relevant paper, because so it's a different study, as you can see. All right, published later in April 2020. These people, they have made 22 references. Out of these 22 references, 14 are cited in both papers. So I can ask Web of Science, can you show me those 14 papers that are cited in both papers? And now you have 14 shared references. So these papers can be very relevant to what you're doing. So you look at what is commonly cited by researchers. Okay. All right. So that's how you explore the citation network. Obviously, you want to, if this is an interesting paper, you want to read the paper, you want to have access to the full text. So there's several ways. So since this is an open access paper, so I can free full text from the publisher. I can access the free full text from the publisher, or I can look up full text from Google Scholar. I can do both ways if I want. And there is also an extension which is quite interesting. It's called Copernio. So you see it's installed in my browser here, and you have access to the link in the top, Copernio. Copernio is browser extension available in Chrome, Firefox, and Opera. Copernio will try to find the PDF version of the paper. Okay. So let me show you. It was here. If I refresh this page, you'll see Copernio is trying to find the full text, and now it's found from the publisher. If I click on View PDF, it will load the PDF, and that's the full text. From here, that's the full text that I can read. I can download the PDF, I can share it with someone, I can export to EndNote, Mendeley, Zotero, and so on. Okay, or I can push to my EndNote online account. We're going to speak about that on Thursday. So, and that's also from the Lancet. You see, PDF, that's the PDF directly from the Lancet. So this is quite handy when it comes to finding the PDFs or the full text. All right. So we spoke about selecting the database, mastering the keyword search, filtering, and then the citation network. Okay, and then also related records. All right. In here, these authors, they didn't give any keywords, otherwise it have been available here. Author keywords, it's not available, but you do have what we call keywords plus. Keywords plus, those keywords are generated automatically. So we have an algorithm based on what these people cite. We would or assign some keywords to this paper. Okay. Something that you can do in the Web of Science is obviously searching by organization enhanced. So by institution, if you want to start with your institution. Okay. So if I search for Kuwait, we do have some institutions that are already unified. Kuwait University, for example. What do we mean by unified? Unified meaning we allocate a unique name, but when you read the paper, you would find those different variants. So instead of searching on Kuwait Unif Kuwait, FAC, SCI, and so on, I can search directly on Kuwait University to find all the papers. Okay. And then here I can do a quick analysis if I want. So here I can tell you in the whole history, 17,000 papers, around 700 papers per year, let's say, and it's growing. 47 highly cited papers in field, mainly active in medicine, EEE, and so on. I can see the list of authors, so mainly articles out of 17,000, 14,000 papers. The collaborators, So these are institutions in Kuwait, but also some institutions outside Kuwait. Funding agency, Kuwait University is funding research done by Kuwait University. I mean, that's not a surprise, but you do also have collaborators that might get funding from foreign funding agencies, and list of authors, the key or the most productive authors, I would say, by number of papers. Okay, Abdullah is asking, why are the funding agencies a relevant filter? I would say it's a relevant information for the analysis, but I would need to know who's funding just to have just like a landscape analysis. So let's say you look at a certain topic, and as a researcher, if I want to raise some funding, or if I need some funding, I would need to know who has funded already similar works. That's how I would use the filters for analysis. I wouldn't use the filter as something that I would use to filter out papers. I would look at, actually funding agencies do that. They would look at the projects they have funded, number of papers. They would look at the impact, and they would compare with projects funded by other funding agencies. I think that's mainly what decision makers or policy makers would do. But as a researcher, I think it's rich information to know who has funded similar projects or projects on similar topic. That's how I see it as a researcher. Again, for research evaluation or for funding agencies or policymakers, let's say Ministry of Health has funded projects and they want to compare the impact, so that's in Kuwait, they want to compare the impact of the project they have funded with the projects funded by another funding agency, let's say similar size, similar country, or country of the same size, in a specific field. And would say, okay, we have funded that much, but the other funding agency, when they funded projects, that's the impact they get. Abdullah is asking, how can I get access to the 91 papers? So I've shown that during the demonstration. You go to the citation network and you click on the number of paper. Okay, Dina is asking, I have issues with our library website. In this case, I cannot really help. Best people would be either your IT department or the librarian. They would guide you on how you can access. Okay, Anwar is asking, what is difference between bibliography and reference? So you make a reference, so you write a paper and you say, this author in 2015 has said, so you made a reference, right? Bibliography would be your list of references. Okay, is EndNote free? So good question. We'll speak about that in more details on Thursday. There's a session on EndNote. You have several versions of EndNote. You have EndNote Basic, which is free, EndNote Online, which comes as free premium version of EndNote Basic when you have access to Web of Science. And then you have EndNote Desktop. EndNote Desktop comes with a license. It's a software that you need to install, and you need a key, basically a license to install it. And that comes with a cost. EndNote Online is free, and EndNote Basic is free as well. The user account is free, yes, on Web of Science. When you create an account in Web of Science, you access Web of Science first, all right? That is provided by your institution. The institution has subscribed to Web of Science, and you access it for free from library, from campus, from VPN, okay? Different ways of accessing Web of Science. And then you create a free account to access Web of Science from anywhere. Yeah, so Ali is asking, where can I see the recorded session? I will share with you the recording. That will be on YouTube. The registration link to the site. There is no registration link. You need to access Web of Science first, and then go to the top and click register. So the first step is you need to access Web of Science. The question from Ahmed is, and then we have subscription to some databases, why don't we have access to all the papers, even if they are in the same year? Some of the papers are accessible and others need to pay for them based on what you classify the paper. Okay, so that's a very good question. If I click on Kuwait University, okay, I will get all the papers that have at least an author from Kuwait University. You find 17,000 papers, published in many different journals, New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet Oncology, Lancet, and so on. That doesn't mean that Web of Science is not a full text database, all right? It's a bibliographic database where we index the data and the references. So if I click on this paper, so Copernio is going to try to find this paper, all right? Now, because I'm a researcher affiliated to Leiden University in the Netherlands, I can log in with my library information, okay? And Copernio will try to find this paper in the library of my institution. So that's one way. There is lookup full text. I can try to find a full text from Google Scholar if this paper is available. All right. So we have a partnership with Google Scholar where they give us this link and we give them the number of citations from Web of Science. So if I click here now, okay. Now, if I click download PDF, I might not have access to this. You might have access to Science Direct from your institution. In this case, you would have access to this paper. So we give you the link, all right, but might not have access to Lancet Oncology because your library didn't subscribe to it. We don't give you full text to everything. That's the point. We give you access to the bibliographic data. If the PDF is available or open access in some ways, Copernio will help you to locate it. Someone is asking best advice for searching with British versus American spelling. I would include both. So let's say if I'm working on something, let's say color or color. Okay, I would put both spellings. Yeah, same question from Tuba, who's asking the details about the seminar on Thursday. I will send you the link to register. Yeah, thank you, Mohammed. I got your question, yeah, because I'm going through the oldest question that has been posted on the chat, so now I can see. Good. Someone is asking, do we have EAAET and access to the Web of Science? I'm not sure. What we do is library is free to distribute the access the way they want. Some do it via proxy, easy proxy. Some do it via IP only on campus. Some do it via VPN. So you would need to ask your librarian. They would be the best people to answer this question. Abdulaziz is sending me a link and is asking, is this the right link? Yes, this is the right link, but you need to be connected from your university network. So again, best people to answer these access questions would be your librarian. They would be able to tell you how you can access these resources. All right. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. All the best. I hope you found the session useful. Take care and talk to you soon. Bye. Assalamu alaikum.